What's going on, everyone? It's your boy, Rugby League Roundup, back here with episode 22 of the Beyond the Tryline podcast. Back here for the second edition of the Tuesday Tipping Show with my co-host, Kynan. How are you, Kynan?
Yeah, good, mate. How are you going?
Yeah, not too bad. Excited to get into the week of footy. That is round 20. But, I mean, I summed up yesterday what a weekend of footy. I was absolutely pleased to see some of the footy that was played on the weekend. I mean, Sharks making history with a 66-0 win, biggest win in the club's history. Raiders defeating the Bulldogs pretty convincingly, 40 points to 16. Roosters continue their good form. The Rabbitohs survive a late night scare, just beating them by 2 points in the end. And the Cowboys pulling off an incredible victory against the Manly Warringah Sea Eagles in Golden Point there. So very, very good week of footy that was. But we've got some footy to look ahead to now. And we start off with the Panthers versus the Brisbane Broncos Thursday night, 7:50 p.m. These two teams have matched up 49 times. Broncos have the edge with 25 wins and Panthers have 22 wins, and there's been a draw in their head-to-head matchup. Let's kick things off. Do you want to run us through the teams, Kynan? The Panthers team?
Yeah, run us through the Panthers team. Fullback, you got Dill Edwards. On the wings, you got Tommy Jenkins and Brian Toto. In the centres, Paul Alamoni and Casey McLean. The halves are Blaze Talangi and Nathan Cleary. In the forwards, you've got Moses Leota and Lindsay Smith with Freddie Lussick at hooker. You've got Isaiah Papali'i, Liam Martin in the second row, and your lock is Isaiah. On the bench, you've got Jack Cole, Scott Sorensen, Liam Henry, Billy Phillips, Isaac Tuggo, Billy Scott. And then on the reserves, you've got Sione for now. You've got Cale Going, and you've got LaRon Patea. And then obviously Ivan Cleary is your coach.
Yeah. And for the Broncos, Reece Walsh at fullback, Josiah Karapani back from a suspension, I'm pretty sure, as well as Dean Mariner back in the side. In the centres, Katoni Staggs and Gemmet Shibasaki. The halves are Ezra Mam and Adam Reynolds. The front row pairing is Xavier Willison and Payne Haas. The hookers, Corey Pakes. Brendan Piacora and Jordan Ricky are the back rowers, and Patrick Carrigan at lock. On the bench, it is Ben Hunt, Ben Tolte, Preston Ricky, Grant Anderson, Va'a Samu, and Hayes Perham. And on the reserves, Billy Walters returning from an ACL injury, Luke Gale and Thomas Duffy. And the coach is Michael Maguire. Now, Broncos have now lost 8 straight games. I mean, it's been absolute capitulation at that club, and I could see this one getting pretty bad for them. Penrith obviously sitting quite comfortably first by 4 points above the Warriors at second. Nathan Cleary has been absolutely outstanding. I mean, unbelievable. What do you reckon of this game? Who do you think is going to win?
I reckon it's going to be a very good game for Thursday night. Obviously, Broncos pretty disappointing this season. The Panthers team that beat this year. I see it going Panthers' way by a fair amount. I just don't see the Broncos being able to do a job on them. So Panthers, I reckon it's going to be 32-10.
Yeah. I'm going to go Panthers winning 42-16. I'll go with that scoreline. I think Thomas Jenkins will cross for a double and probably go with Tom Jenkins double, and I'm going to go with Casey McLean to score on return as well. So, yeah, it's going to be I hope it's a good match, but the way Broncos are going right now, nothing's good for them. So, yep. Friday night, first game, 6 p.m. Very, very good matchup. 4th versus 5th. Newcastle Knights at Shark Park. Sharks coming off a very dominant win that I just said. 66-0 against the Dolphins. Nico Hines is playing some of his best footy. Out of Blake's been dominant, and their attack is very, very good right now. The Knights, on the other hand, their loss on the weekend, I won't be happy with, but the last 15 minutes, they really turned it on and they piled on. I think they got to 3 or 4 tries in about a 10-minute span. So, very, very good sides from Knights in their attack. They just need to put it together for 80 minutes. I'll run us through the Sharks side, and then Kynan, you can run through the Newcastle side. On the Sharks side, fullback is Will Kennedy. The wingers are Sione Katoa and Ronaldo Mulatalo. The centers, Jesse Ramian and Kale Iro. The halves are Braden Trindle and Nico Hines. The forwards, Adam Fanua Blake and Thomas Hazelton. The hooker, Blake Brayley. The back rowers are Britton Nicola and Teague Wilson. The lock is Cameron McInnes, and the bench is Hohepa Puru, Siofa Talakai, Billy Burns, Oregon Kalfusi, Tuku Hautapua, and Moeen Hiroti. And then on the reserves, you've got Sam Stonestreet, Niwai Puru, and Jaden Beryl. The coach is Craig Fitzgibbon.
For the Knights, you've got Kalen Ponga at fullback. Your wingers are Dom Young and Greg Marzu. You've got Dane Gagai and Bradman Best in the centres. In the halves, Fletcher Sharp, Dylan Brown. In the forwards, you've got Tyson Frizzell, Trey Mooney with Phoenix Crossland at hooker. Second row is Dylan Lucas and Francis Menalua.
Yeah.
And Matt Croker at lock. And your interchange, you've got Sandon Smith, Lachlan Crouch, Thomas Kent, Brad Jones, Fletcher Hunt, Harrison Graham. On the reserves, Kyle McCarty, E.S. Lamoana, and Tyson Gamble with your coach, Justin Holbrook.
Now, this is a very, very, very tough game for me to tip. I could go either way here. Which way will you be heading with this tip, Kynan? Who do you think?
A very tough game to pick. Obviously, Sharks are in very good form. The Knights obviously lost the Rabbitohs last week. I could see it going both ways. However, it's at Shark Park. I'm going to back the home team. I think the Sharks will win. It'll be a very close game. I reckon 24-22.
Yeah, I'm kind of along the same lines as you. I'm going to go with a high-scoring affair. I'm going to go 32-28. I think it'll be very high-scoring. Both teams like to score tries. That's been proven. So it's just about which side will have the better attack, and I think Sharks at home, they'll be able to get it done. I could easily see Ronaldo Mulatalo and Sione Katoa crossing for a few tries on Friday night. Now, next game, Friday 8 p.m., a very good game in my opinion. I think we'll have it's the Sydney Roosters at Allianz Stadium taking on the Melbourne Storm. The Roosters have been one of the form teams of the competition, running in third place. They're coming off another impressive victory over the Parramatta Eels. Daniel Tupou celebrating his 300th game in style with a hat-trick, and Trent Robinson's side looking like they're absolute professionals that they are. And then with Melbourne, they're coming off a very difficult, gritty win against the Titans. It wasn't their best performance of the year, that's for sure. But the Storm, in clutch moments, they still know how to get the job done, and they did so on Sunday night. Kynan, if you would please take us through the Roosters side.
Of course, you got Cuddy Ramsey at fullback, Daniel Tupou and Mark Namonga Tawase on the wings. The centers are Billy Smith, Hugo Savala in the halves, DCE and Sam Walker. Forwards in the Fahu White, Spencer Lenu, Reece Robson and hooker, Nat Butcher and Sarah Wong at second row, Victor Bradley in the lock. On the interchange, you've got Connor Watson, Celeste Focchetti, Egan Butcher, Taylor Lasua, Rex Brastingway, and Tommy Talau. On the reserves, you've got Toby Rodwell, Benaya Alou, and Robert Toya with Trent Robinson as your coach.
I don't know why Robert Toy is on the reserves there. I mean,
Shocked me a bit, to be honest.
I don't know what they've done with that. I'll have to look into that a bit more. I hope On God's green earth, if they've dropped him, I do not know why they've done that. So hopefully it's probably just an injury and it's like maybe they're monitoring it. But if they've dropped him, that's absolutely stupid. Storm, they are out a few key players. I think Hughes is out as well, but far longer at fullback. Will Warbrick and Moses Leo on the wings. Jack Howarth and Nick Meaney in the centres. Tyron Wisher and Trent Tolau in the halves. Stefano Utoi Kamanu and Josh King in the front row. The hooker is Harry Grant. The back rows are Cooper Clark and Oren Keeley from the Dolphins, the new recruit. The lock is Trent Loiero, and the bench is Gabriel Satrick, Jack Hetherington, Josiah Pahulu, Alec McDonald, Stanley Huen, and Siolagi Tuimalatu Brown. And the reserves are Davey Moali, Manaya Watere, and Hayden Watson. The coach is Craig Bellamy. I'm gonna go with Storm. I'm gonna go with Roosters. Sorry, Roosters to win. Almost got it mixed up there. I have Roosters winning by quite a bit actually. I'm gonna go Roosters to win 36 points to 14. I just think Storm without their two halves, it's gonna be a bit of a mess. That's my opinion.
Yeah, you shocked me there for a second when you said Storm.
I shocked myself as well.
Yeah. I never so used to Storm being such a dominant team over the last how many years. So I'm not surprised. But yeah, Roosters obviously one of the form teams of the comp. I don't really see it going any other way other than the Roosters just towering them up at Allianz too. I'm saying I reckon it's going to be 46-4.
Far out. You know what? I could see that happening though, and especially at Allianz. Sam Walker is back from injury. Oh no, from the HIA. They rested him for on the weekend. Cody Ramsey's still in the side. Means James Tedesco's probably still not quite fit. But the way Cody Ramsey played on the weekend, I think they can rest Tedesco for a week. Moving on to Saturday afternoon. If Raiders are to make finals, this is a must-win game. They're only, I think, 1 or 2 wins out of the top 8 now. Both teams are coming in with full confidence. Souths get a good win over the Newcastle Knights. Canberra off one of the better performances this season, dismantling the Doggies at Accor Stadium. Let's run through the teams. Kynan, run through your Canberra Raiders.
Of course, Kaya Weeks is your fullback. Wingers, Jed Stewart and Xavier Savage. Centers, Simi Sasangi, Matt Timoko. In the halves, Ethan Strange and Ethan Sanders. Your forwards, Corey Horsbright, Joseph Tarpany with Owen Paddy at hooker. Hudson Young, Noah Martin, second row. Zach Hosking at lock. Interchanges, Tom Starling, Adam Mariota, Josh Papali'i, Dane Laurie, Sevilio Tamale, Morgan Smithies. On the bench, Kobe Black, Joe Roddy, and Sione Finau, with Ricky Stewart as your coach.
Quite a good team there from the Canberra Raiders. On the south side, though, Matt Duffy at fullback keeps his spot after a very dominant performance. Alex Johnson on the wing with Campbell Graham, Tallis Duncan and Jack White are the centres. The halves, Cody Walker back from suspension and Ashton Ward. The front rowers are Tavita Totola and Keon Kalamatangi. The hookers, Brandon Smith. The back rowers are David Fafita and Ewan Aiken. And the lock forward is Cameron Murray. The bench is Jai Gray, Lockie Hubner, Liam LeBlanc, Jamie Humphreys, Latrell Sequel, and Bronson Garlick. And then the reserves are John Riddell, Thomas Fletcher, Edward Cossey, and Coach Wayne Bennett. Obviously, you're a Canberra fan, so I assume you're going to say Canberra. But what do you think? What do you think of this game?
Look, the Raiders is a must-win for us to make finals. We've got most of our team back. I mean, we haven't really lost many of them, but we've Papali'i back's a big one. We saw that last week. Hosking in lock, I think works very well, and I think we're starting to find our feet a bit. Obviously, coming off the back of last year, how dominant we were and then didn't follow that up this year. It was a bit disappointing, but I think we're starting to hopefully find that form again. Obviously, I'm going to pick the Raiders. They won't win convincingly, but I'll say they'll get the job done. I'm saying 30-20.
Okay. Yeah, I could see this happening. It's quite tough actually because, I mean, both teams looking strong. Zach Hosking, may I say, an absolute standout performance against the Doggies. I mean, wow, hat trick for a lock forward. I didn't see that coming, but I don't know. I'm probably going to go South Sydney by 1. I'm going to go 23-22. I think Cody Walker's a big inclusion. If he wasn't back, I'd probably go with Canberra, but just his attacking influence poises me to go with the Rabbitohs in this one. Could really go either way. Very, very convinced Raiders could get the job done, but I'm going to go with South Sydney on this occasion. 5:35 across the Tasman in New Zealand. The Wars host the Dragons in Auckland. I mean, the Warriors have been outstanding all season. Another dominant performance against the Tigers, 32 points to 6. Dragons coming off the bye, but 4 points in a row now from the Tigers game. Hopefully that helps with a bit of their mentality. Hopefully we can take it to the Warriors, but we'll run through the sides. Kynan, if you could take us through the Warriors, please.
Yeah, fullback, you got Tuapiki. On the wings, Dallin Matani-Lesniak and Alafi Khan Pereira. The centers, you got Ali Leatua and Adam Pompey. Chanel Harris-Tavita and Tamare Martin in the halves. James Fisher-Harris and Mitch Bunner in the props. Wade Egan's your hooker. Kirk Capewell and Jacob Levan are your second rows with Aaron Clark at lock. On the bench, Sam Healy, Tanner Stoller-Smith, Dimitri Vemagale, Leka Halasima, Eddie Tueva, and Murata Nikora. On the bench, you got Chance Nickel-Klukstad, Luke Metcalf, and Makia Taufal with Andrew Webster as your coach.
And the Dragons, Clint Gutherson at fullback, Setutu on the wing with Tyrell Sloan. The centers are Matthew Feeney and Val Holmes. The halves, 5'8", Daniel Atkinson, halfback, Kyle Flanagan. The front rowers are Loko Pacifici Tonga and Toby Couchman, hooker Damien Cook. The second row is Dylan Egan and Hamish Stewart, and the lock forward, Ryan Couchman. On the bench, Jacob Little, Luciano Leilua, Josh Kerr, and Jacob Halangahu, and Moses Sully, as well as Lycan King Togia. The reserves are Emre Gula, Christian Tuipolotu, and Jacob Webster. Dean Young, the interim coach. Kynan, you can start off here.
I'm actually surprised. That's a pretty good Dragons side, in my opinion, that they've listed. However, I don't think they will get the job done. Obviously, we look there, Dragons 17th. Pretty poor season, to be honest. Warriors, one of the only teams really I can see going head-to-head with the Panthers. And I think they'll prove why they're in the top 4 this weekend by absolutely demolishing the Dragons. I think it's going to be a bad day to be a St. George fan. It's going to be 50-16.
I could see it going that way, but I'm going to be delusional as possible and go with the Dragons to win because, I mean, all supporters back their teams and it has been a shit season, but the performances over the last month have been a lot better. This is a real test for us. I really want to see how we go against the Warriors. I'm not expecting to win, in all honesty. I just want to see grit, determination, and a closer game than expected. Anywhere between 6 to 18 points, I would be super happy with. But I'm still obviously going to go with Dragons to win 22 points to 16. No reason why, just because I go for them. And also, I think Tyrell Sloan might get a couple of tries. So hopefully that does pan out for us, and hopefully my bias is right in that case. Moving on now, the last game of Saturday night. Season defining probably for both teams now, getting to the peaky end of the season. Doggies were outplayed last week. So were the Tigers. I mean, just a couple of teams that have been out of form this year. I'll run through the Doggies team. Connor Tracy at fullback. The wingers are Jacob Kiraz and Jethro Rinakama. The centers, Matty Burden and Anari Tuala. Sean O'Sullivan in the halves with Lockie Galvin. The front rowers are Max King and Leo Thompson. Hooker, Bailey Hayward. Second rowers are Jamin Summon and Jacob Preston. The lock forward is Harry Hayes. The bench is Kurt Mann, Josh Curran, Jack Underhill, Lipoy Hopoy, Marcelo Montoya, and the friendly face in Gordon Chan Kum Tong. Vili Army Kickout, Jed Reardon, and Stephen Crichton on the reserves, and Cam Serrata is the coach.
For the Tigers, Jermaine Buller, fullback. Wingers, Serenity River and Gerard Skelton. In the centres, you've got Marty Macassini and Stafford Toa. Halves, you've got Jerome Law and Adam Dewey. Forwards, Terrell May and Bono Pole. You've got Jared Haywood. Hooker, your second row is Umbrella Finu and Sione Finu. Your locks, Alex Twile. On the bench, Latu Finu, Ethan Roberts, Alex Seyfard, Joyce Lanyon, Falatino Tavana, and Kit Luali. On the reserves, Jun Tupo, Javon Andrews, and Appy Coruscant, and your coach is Benji Marshall.
Now, Appy Coruscant was meant to return in a few weeks. Are they pushing? They might be pushing that. I'm not sure. But it does show a lot of desperation. I think they're trying to fight for their season here. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to go with the Bulldogs. I think the Dogs had a very off week, but the Tigers are starting to slowly fall apart with certain distractions around the club. You could say Jerome Luai isn't a distraction, but really this is a lot like the Lachlan Galvin distraction last year, where they've now announced it and they haven't been able to move on from the news. So I'm going to go the Dogs to win 30 points to 18. I think it'll be close. But Dogs to win 30 points to 18. I think Sean O'Sullivan, I mean, as much as people don't talk about him, he's a backup half. He actually is very smart footy-wise, and I think I'm really intrigued to see how this combination goes with Lachlan Galvin on Saturday night.
I'll jump on the back of that because that was actually the first thing I was going to touch base with. Sean O'Sullivan, I mean, like you said, backup halfback, but the minute he stepped on that field against the Raiders, probably like you saw the momentum shift in that last little bit. He's a very good player, very underrated in my opinion. It's funny, my dad and I were actually having a conversation about him a few days ago, and we reckon that he should have started as a halfback and put Galvin to 6 for the whole season and Burden go to lock with Critter at fullback. That was my opinion. That was his and mine's opinion. I still stand by that, and obviously seeing Sean O'Sullivan in the squad is good. And I think because of that, just his footy smarts are very good, and between his control of the game and Lachlan Galvin's just raw ability, I think that will be a big reason why the Dogs win on the weekend. And I have them winning 36-14.
Yeah. I mean, Sean O'Sullivan's a huge inclusion, and I'm really intrigued to see how that goes. If Stephen Crichton manages to get back in the squad, I hope they rest him, for God's sake. Like, that was a very scary sort of incident that happens there. I think they should just rest him, honestly. So hopefully that happens. But we move on to Sunday, 2 p.m., where the Gold Coast Titans host the Manly Warringah Sea Eagles at Seabus Super Stadium. It feels like an age since they've played there. I think the last time was against Penrith or the Dogs a few weeks ago. The Titans, they did push Melbourne all the way to the end, but I mean, it's just been their season. They've fallen short multiple times. The effort's there, but the quality and execution hasn't been. Manly, on the other hand, they got to be kicking themselves in the foot because honestly, they had that game against the Cowboys Sunday afternoon, 18-10 up with about 10 minutes to go, and they just let it go. The Parramatta game as well, so many errors in that game. That Luke Brooks loss is looking to be probably one of the biggest losses to their season, surprisingly. And yeah, hopefully Eagles can get back on track. But right now, 2 consecutive losses. This is a must-win game. Kynan, if you so could, run us through the Gold Coast Titans, please.
Yep, Keanu Kinney at fullback. You've got Dean Jeremiah and Philip Simons at wingers. Centers are Jojo Fafita and AJ Brimson. You got JD Campbell and Zane Harrison in the halves. Mo Fodawaker and Tina Fasalam as your props, with Oliver Pascoe as your hooker. In the second row, you've got Amara Howe and Bo Fermor with Chris Randall at lock. Interchange, Curtis Moran, Josh Patson, Cleese Haas, Cooper By, Sam Verrills, Lockie Ilias. On the reserves, Michael Molo, Jalen DeGroot, and Siali Falamani, and Josh Haney as your coach.
Yeah, I mean, that team has a lot of quality in there. Just the execution hasn't been there. But we move on to Manly and Tom Trbojevic at fullback, Jason Saab and Lehigh Hopewade on the wings, Tolu Kula and Ruben Garrick in the centres. The halves are Joey Walsh and Jamal Fogarty. The front rowers are Taniela Paseka and Simeone Laiafi. Hooker is Jake Simpkin. The back row is Hamali Alakawatu and Ethan Bullymore. And the lock forward, Jake Trbojevic. The bench is Josh Fellerty, Nathan Brown, Kobe Hetherington, Jackson Shereb, Nicholas Linaz, and Blake Wilson. The reserves are Aaron Shop, Fletcher Baker, and Onatoni Large. And Foz Kieran Foran is the coach. Which way do you see this game going?
It's a hard one for me because, like you said, the Seagulls have choked the last few games. They've played Parramatta. Sorry, can you my sister calling out to me? Parramatta and last week as well. Titans they're there, but they're just not at the same time. Like they come so close so many times, but they just can't finish the game.
Yeah.
And I think the Titans are going to repeat that this weekend. Unfortunately, I hope they don't. But I see Manly just winning. I think it's going to be 18-16, pretty low scoring. Seagulls will get the job done to keep their season going because obviously outside the top 8 now, they need to get back on winning form to keep their season alive. And I think they will do that.
I'm going to go with Manly as well. I'm going to go Manly to win 26 points to 18. I think it'll be close. I think Tom Trbojevic needs to have a big game. I mean, there's already a lot of pressure with him with injuries, but Clayton Faulalo at fullback for Manly this season had been absolutely outstanding before Tommy T came back. I hope that there's some pressure on his spot and that he can deliver. I'm going to go Manly to win. Just looking at the comments now, Harry Plessis, hello mate, how are we? Annie XO, hey Billy, how are you mate? I'm good, yourself? And go Manly. Yep, for Dragons fans, kind of want Manly to win for us. Keep our hopes alive to try and get away from that wooden spoon. Moving on to the very last game, Queensland Derby, the Dolphins versus the North Queensland Cowboys. Now, Dolphins need to respond big here after taking that 66-0 beating to Cronulla Sharks, and Christian Wolf will be demanding a huge response from that Dolphin side. Meanwhile, the Cowboys have been pulling off some awesome victories as of late, and that game against Manly was proven that they want to be in the top 8, and they are a top 8 side. If you could, Kynan, run us through the Dolphins team.
Of course. Fullback, you got Hamasai, Tabuai Fido, Jermaine Asako and Selvin Cobbo on the wings, Jack Bostock and Herbie Farmer for the centres, Cody Nicarima and Bradley Snyder as your halves. In the forwards, you got Tom Flegler and Francis Molo, Jeremy Marshall King is your hooker. You've got Connelly Lemelu and Finny Filiaki is your second rowers with Morgan Knowles as your lock. On the bench, Kurt Donahue, Max Plath, Tom Gilbert, Felice Kafusi, Tavita Nafahu, and Sebastian Sewer. On the reserves, you've got Brian Panui, Trey Fuller, and John Finna. I don't even know how to say that. Finna Goffer. I don't even know. With Christian Wolf as your coach.
Yeah, I mean, that Dolphin side shouldn't have lost 66-0, eh? I mean, I know Hammer and Jack Bostock and Cowboys back, but the amount of names they had in there, they should not have lost 66-0. The Cowboys line up like this: Scott Drinkwater at fullback, Braden Burns and Murray Taulagi on the wing, Zach Labour and Tommy Chester in the centres. The halves are Jackson Purdue and Jake Clifford. The forwards, Griffin Neem and Jason Taumalo'o. Hooker is Reid Marnie. The second rowers are Hylan Lukey and Jeremiah Nanai. And the lock forward, Reuben Cotter. The interchange bench is Sonny Luke, Kai O'Donnell, Matthew Lodge, Cohen Hess, Sam McIntyre, and Caden Lars. And the reserves are Liam Sutton, Ethan King, and Tommy Dearden back from his stint on the sidelines, hoping to play this week. Todd Payton is the coach. What do you think, Kynan? Who do you think wins this one?
This is a bit of my bias going in, but I reckon it's fins up all the way. I've got a soft spot for the Dolphins. Love them. Love the way they play footy. Obviously, last week was very disappointing against the Sharks. Didn't expect that. I believe I tipped the Dolphins to win last week, and then they got absolutely hammered.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping they can turn that around from last week. Obviously, being the favourites against the Cowboys, got a full squad back. I reckon the Dolphins are going to win. I think it's going to be 34-28.
I think the Dolphins will respond in a very, very positive way. I think it will be a better performance, but I'm going to go with the Cowboys to win. I mean, they've been absolutely on a roll lately. They were meant to be a shit show this year. People were saying, "Oh, Todd Payton's not the coach. He's not meant to be there." But he's completely turned that season around. They went from 0-3 to now like 10-6 or 10-7, which is absolutely immense. Did not mean to make that 6-7 reference. Please do not put that in a clip. Cowboys, though, I'm going to go Cowboys 20 points to 16. I think it'll be close. But I think Scott Drinkwater has too much class. Just looking into some comments here. Joshua Ferrant. Hello, Kenny. How? What in the Duke is that tip? Hell nah. And how many subs for a fit reveal? We'll get to 1.5K and then we'll do a fit reveal. But that.
I'll just say before we wrap up, I want to apologise for all the background noise. I'm not at home. I'm at my parents' house actually, so I got all my siblings running around yelling. So just apologies for that, real quick, just before we wrap up.
Yeah. And I don't know what this comment is, but fair enough.
That's my cousins, mates. They're jumping in on the.
Yeah. That's awesome, mate. That's awesome. That wraps up the Tuesday Tippy Show, episode 22 of the Beyond the Tryline podcast. Round 20 is probably going to be one of the biggest rounds of the season. Very, very big in terms of teams fighting for 8 spots. I mean, Dolphins, Cowboys, one of them. A few other games in there this weekend. As always, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave your comments down below for your tips this week. If you enjoyed, make sure to tune in tomorrow because there will be another video coming out tomorrow. But that's it from me. It's been your boy, Rugby League Roundup. And I've got one thing left to say. Up the Dragons. Take care, guys.